Hey, what's up, everybody? Today we're going to take a look at Bitcoin, Total 3, and we might look at some alts. We'll see how it goes. Right now, we see a nice pump. It appears to be 5 waves. We'll see how it plays. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let me zoom in here so we can see that. So we have potentially, and this is important because, do we get 3 or 5? So if we have 5, we could have a trend here. So we have 1, 2. I would say all of this is 3. And then inside 3, we have an A, B, C, a running flat in wave 4, right? An A, B, C in wave 2, and now we're in wave 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the ABC in wave 2 is actually down here, my mistake. But the important thing is, what is it doing? Well, it appears that was a pretty significant bounce. Now, it appears to me like we have a shoulder, right? We have a shoulder in here. We have a head. And now we could probably get another shoulder. So if we get that, that would actually be pretty bullish. So we can start to break out of here. That would be nice to see. Now, there is always a chance where you have to come back down, right? And that's typical, actually, very much so, where you come up, right? And then you come all the way back down. You have a 5-wave up, you have a 3-wave pullback. Here's your low, here's your higher low, and then you can start making your way higher. And then what we have here is a nice base. You could see the base being formed in here, right? I mean, you could even argue it's some type of Wyckoff structure where you have, this move here, and then you go into your spring, right? You grab some liquidity under these candles here, and now we're starting to pump up, right? And then you start to play around in here before accelerating to the upside. So it's looking very good right now. Doesn't mean it's finished. We could still crash. I mean, this is not financial advice. But based off what I'm seeing, it looks like a complete expanded flat for total 3. We have an A. We come up for B, barely taking the top out, right? And then we came all the way down. Boom, boom, boom. So you could say 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th wave is actually truncated. So basically what a truncated 5th means is the wave doesn't come and make another low. Instead, it's kind of like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. So the 5th was truncated. Those are kind of difficult to spot because you just really never know if it is or not. So we just have to, look at that more so in hindsight. But yeah, I'm really liking what I'm seeing here. You can kind of see something similar here, right? Where we had this run up. We had an A, B, C. This did have 5 waves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A nice 5-wave structure. We broke the low. We barely broke the low. We grabbed that liquidity, and then we took it up, and then we flagged out before continuing to go higher. So that's what we really want to see for Bitcoin. Now let me show you Bitcoin real quick. And this is important for all the altcoins, right? You could see Bitcoin having a nice 4-hour engulfing candle. It's looking pretty good. We're running right into resistance, so it'll be interesting to see if we can get through it. I would like us to, for example, what's going to be interesting today is to close above this close here. So to close above 61, let me get it right on the dot here. Right about 61,253 on the Bitstamp chart. So if we can get a daily close above the previous swing low, that would be very good. That's a good sign. And then even better than that, if we can get a close above this up here, which is the one before that. So here's our low, here's our lower low, and here's another lower low, and here's our recovery. So a lot of times when you go too fast, right? I mean, because we just dumped, right? Bam, and then you have a quick reaction to the upside. It's often followed by some type of three-way pullback or some type of consolidation in here, because the thing with total 3, right, it has developed a base like what we talked about, but Bitcoin hasn't, right? So it kind of needs to chop around a little bit before accelerating to the upside, unless of course it's some type of V-shaped recovery like back over here. So you can see Bitcoin here, right, in a bull run, climbing up, right, and then we have this sort of triangle looking pattern. We dump to the downside. We hit the bull market support band. We perfectly nailed it, and then we had a sharp impulse to the upside, right? We had a little bit of resistance when we met up with these candles. These candles, right? This one here, and this one here. All of these closes, basically the resistance. You could see we came up right here, rejected. Came up here, rejected. And then basically what happened is when we dropped down, we had a very sharp impulse to the upside. We sort of flagged out a little bit and continued higher. So if that's going to be the case, then, basically two things can happen. Number one, a V-shaped recovery like this, where, you come up, right, and you flag out and continue. Just for visual representation, here's a bars pattern that I took from that previous move. So we could see something like that. So this would be, if the bottom is in, I'm not saying it's in. I mean, it could be, but I mean, we could also have one more low. We've been talking about that for several days because we technically haven't hit the bull market support band. But, we see Theta, we see total 3, we see a lot of coins, right? And when I say Theta, I'm saying as in an example of many altcoins, and a lot of them are below their bull market support band. So, it's looking quite possible that the bottom is in. We do have a proper ABC in here, and we do have potentially 5 waves in this wave. So if that's the case, we want to see something like this for a V-shaped recovery. That would be the most bullish possibility. So, maybe next week we have a nice setup. The other possibility, if the low is in, is we come up and we start to, play around in here a little bit before continuing higher. Basically building a base right in here before continuing higher. And that's also pretty a good situation, because what that does is, the oscillation back and forth is good for the altcoins, and it also would technically, in the event that we did go sideways, we could meet up with the bull market support band and then officially test it without necessarily having to make a new low before breaking out. So those are the two options if the low is in. Basically establishing a base at the low or a very sharp V-shaped recovery out of there. So if you had to ask me which one, well, for me, I'm more conservative. I would say the ranging. If we get the impulse, then hey, that's absolutely awesome. I'll be pleasantly surprised. I would rather expect something, worse than something great, and then it doesn't happen, and then you kind of, messes with your psychology. If you expect something extremely bullish to happen and it doesn't happen, then it's like it kind of messes with how you think about things. So don't ever expect anything. Always take everything with a grain of salt. So to me, we've been talking about this correction for a while now. The possibility of being an ABC, the likelihood of coming down to the bull market support band. And after, 50, 60 days, we finally almost hit it, right? So it feels like some relief. Now we could go lower and we can talk about that. So those are the two bullish ideas, and we'll get into the altcoins. But first, before I go to the bearish idea, and when I say bearish, I just mean probably another low or a back test of this area. But before I do that, what would something like theta, what would happen, right, if we had this V-shaped recovery with Bitcoin? What would happen to things like theta and total 3? Well, if we had a V-shaped recovery with Bitcoin, we can see theta doing something like this, getting all the way back, breaking above $3. So we have a 1-2. It would be nice to get another 1-2. Man, if that happened, that would be really insane, because we came down, we hit the bull market support band, right? And we had a 1, 2, and then we hit it again, right? We hit it again, and then we had another 1, 2, and then we hit it again. Man, that would be like a mega, mega, mega pump. So if we get something like that, whew, you better look out, because that'll be one insane roller coaster. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But that would be one idea. Now, what would qualify this down move? Well, it would probably be the ranging aspect. It could go either way, right? Because you can see Bitcoin getting a pump, and then it pulls back, and then it kind of ranges in here. So that would be theta getting a pump, and then it pulls back, and maybe it ranges a little bit in here. Versus, if we had the range, right, where we just, and the range could look, different. It can look a couple different ways. It can be like an ascending triangle. It can be an inverse head and shoulders. It could be a Wyckoff structure. It could be like a double bottom. It could be like a W shape. There's a lot of different ways that it can occur. But basically, it's just oscillating, building a layer of support inside of a box so that you have a more sustainable run. So if that occurred with Bitcoin, then I could imagine that would occur the same with theta, where theta would make its way back up, maybe pull back, come back up, maybe take out the top, and then sort of pull back into a spring like this. Boom, something like that. But it would be kind of big. I mean, maybe the way I drew it is big, but it probably wouldn't take that long, but something like that. I would say that's probably too big the way I've drawn it. More like that. Something's a little bit smaller. But when you zoom out, right, it looks normal, right? It looks like, it looks like a normal correction. Now, that's kind of what happened down here. We developed a base. You could see right about there, we developed a base. So if I just take a simple bars pattern to kind of get a rough idea of what that would be, maybe something like this, and that would actually qualify as a nice base in here, right? Something like that. And and actually, if I had to choose, it would probably be something like this, where we come up, we bump our heads right here, we find some resistance, we have a nice three-way pullback, we have a low, we have a higher low, we have a higher low, and then we continue higher. And a lot of people are going to say, oh, it's a triangle, we have a triangle in here, right? It's going to make like a triangle looking shape. And sometimes it can break to the downside, make you believe that, because a lot of times when you have a big move down and then you have a triangle, it often signals more downside. And it's, if we break the low and we grab liquidity from this rising trend line and then we take it up, that would be very interesting. So these are just speculative ideas kind of to get the ball rolling here to figure out how this would look. But essentially, we're dealing with those two things. Now, if Bitcoin had the bearish idea, which is not really bearish depending on how you look at it, I would say the 1 hour chart here, right? We have an A, B, C, right? So in wave C, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And in wave 5, do we have 5 waves? Well, again, we looks like we do. We can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or you can say 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Where you come down here, then you start to, make a bottom in here and round out. So that's one of the bearish ideas. Now the second one would be to say that a little bit more bearish is we have a Fibonacci retracement, basically a 618 retrace. Now we hit the 50, where we came close to the 50, but we really haven't had a 618 retrace of this move. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, and then we get down here to the 618 around 52K, which would be back testing these order blocks over here. So if that's the case, then it would actually look pretty good. The problem with that idea is, what would happen to theta if that occurred? Well, to me, we would probably end up losing the low here, and we would come down to around probably that $1.50, $1.45 area, because when I pull the retracement up, we already had a 618 retrace. Actually, we had a 702. So the next step would be about that 786. So I would say if this occurred with Bitcoin, between $1.40 and $1.50, $1.51. So, and then what we can see would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And maybe we come up here, right? Maybe it could still do that. It can come up here. So 1, 2, right? And then we have 3 and 2. And then we have 3. And then we have 1, 2, 3 in wave 4. And then we come down for 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kind of like a diagonal pattern. So that would be a diagonal pattern, or look at it as a massive bull flag. It would still be very, very, very bullish. It actually would be even more bullish before, because then that would qualify theta for the biggest mega bull count that you can possibly imagine, which would be a 1, 2, 1, 2. And it gets us down here to that 786 area, back testing this area here. We have a nice 1, 2, 1, 2. And if we get down here, I would imagine a very sharp impulse, right, to the upside. So that's kind of what we're looking at here. So if Bitcoin dumps to the downside, there's a silver lining. There's always the idea is, well, yeah, that sucks in the meantime, but it actually would set us up for a big major move to the upside, right? So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. Now, you could say, well, what about Theta TFUEL? What would happen to Theta TFUEL? Well, to me, Theta TFUEL is still very bullish. I mean, Bitcoin had a major dump, right? Or first of all, the altcoins. Let me show you right here. The altcoins, just to give you perspective, had a big dump right here, a big liquidation event, right? And then when you look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin had a drop, a pretty significant drop below the support. When you look at Theta Fuel, it doesn't even look like anything, right? It doesn't look like anything happened. We're still making higher lows. We dropped a little bit, so what? We came up, we dropped a little bit more. We still made a higher low, so what, right? And then we came all the way up. We actually took out the top of the 3-day close. So that was pretty interesting, right? Most coins just kind of, rolled over a little bit. So let me just, for example, let's see. I could put Theta here on the screen. Now, if I match them up a little bit, you can see, you can play around, but I'm just going to, for the purpose of that, I'm just going to have Theta Fuel below, just to show us, the differences of what most of the market did. So as Theta went all the way down, Theta Fuel went down, right? But then when Theta pulled back up, it just pulled back a little bit. But Theta Fuel ripped way to the upside. Then Theta dropped very, very hard. That was the big liquidation event. Theta Fuel did too, but it still held this low, which is the equivalent of these lows over here. Then Theta, right? Then Theta had a little pump to the upside. But look at Theta Fuel. It had a big pump to the upside that took out this area here. That would be the equivalent of Theta taking out this top here and pulling back. So to me, that shows very big time strength right there. That shows pretty significant strength. So let me take this off, and we can see on the 3-day chart, we are above the Lucid SAR. On Bitcoin, I believe we're below it. On Theta, I believe we're below it, right? So we're still bullish for Theta Fuel. So again, what would happen to Theta Fuel if Bitcoin decided to drop down to that area, the 786 area, right? This area right between here and here. So somewhere in that area. Then I could totally see Theta Fuel still being extremely bullish, right? It's still being extremely bullish. We'd probably have something that comes down here, and it'd either make a higher low or come down and finally tag the bull market support band. Because look at the angle. That's another important thing. Look at the angle of the bull market support band. Now, when I look at Bitcoin, you could see the angle is starting to round out a little bit, right? Theta, it's starting to round out a little bit, right? Theta Fuel, you could see, especially right here, it curves back to the upside. So the best thing about Theta Fuel, it has plenty of wiggle room. So if Theta Fuel is in a position of something of a bullish structure, very, in my opinion, pretty bullish, especially because if you look at the rest of the market, they got pretty hit hard with an ABC. It was a normal correction, but when you compare it to Theta Fuel, it's very, very interesting. So I think we have a good chance if Bitcoin does come down, we can also come down and hit this area here and the bull market support band before going higher. Now, worst case scenario for Theta Fuel would be in the event Bitcoin decides to plummet. It would be this area here, which we already tagged, by the way, or this area down in here. So, I still consider it to be, we have a 1 2, and then we also have a 1 2, and I mean, I guess you could say this is a 1 2 because this wick here almost hit that wick. So if it came in the overlapping territory, I mean, I guess you can say so, which would be even more bullish. So but I like what I'm seeing here, because the way that, it's oscillating in here, it kind of looks like an ascending channel, which, with the eye, it could, be looked at as bearish, and it very well could be. But the fact that it's doing that while the rest of the market is doing something else, leads me to believe that this is basically a setup, right? And what I mean by setup is, I can show you an example here. So we can see, for the example, Bitcoin, right, at a bottom, and it's coming up, and it's basically this first wave. So we had a 1 2, actually a 1 2 1 2, and then we went into this third wave, right? So when I compare that to Theta Fuel, we can also see the same thing where we came down, right? We made a bottom, and then you can see right here we have a 1 2 1 2, and then we led up into this third wave, and now look at what it's doing, right? So let me go back to Bitcoin so we can see. And this is just one example. There's many different examples, but same kind of thing. We came down, we rounded out, we had a 1 2 1 2, and then we led into this. So now let's focus on this right in here. So you can see, it came up and it started to make this channel in here, where I would actually probably, well, we'll do it right here first, and then I can show. So you can see we came up, we made a higher low, came up, made a higher low, right? Came up, slightly higher low, came up, made a higher low, right? And you can see this basically ascending channel where you have, this oscillation in this ascending channel before a big breakout. So going back to Theta Fuel, I mean, check this out. Where we at? Okay, so same thing, right? We had the dump here, 1 2 1 2, and now we're starting to do this type of, it's not perfect, but it's okay, because it's actually better because of how volatile the swings are. Like the Bitcoin volatility, right? It wasn't that bad, which means the move to the upside could be even more powerful. So let me put it side by side here so we can see Bitcoin at the top and Theta Fuel at the bottom. So basically what Bitcoin did is, it fell down, right? It made a little base in here, right? Same thing here. We fell down, we made a little base. We had a 1 2 1 2. Same thing with Bitcoin, 1 2 1 2, right? And then it came up, and it was sort of a setup, right? It was a bullish, it was a lead-in to a bigger wave. So it could be looked at, when you look at it, right, like back over here, there was bearish divergence. It was an ascending, channel. It looked like it was, gonna reverse, but it actually was a lead-in to a bigger move. So you can kind of see, if I zoom in even further, something similar, going on in here. So basically we came in here, oscillation, and break to the upside. Came in here, break, oscillation, and then break to the upside. So maybe that's what's happening with Theta Fuel. I've seen many examples where we come down, have a base, that first initial wave, we have this channel. First initial wave, we have this channel, and it often leads, that's some type of, running flat that really does something incredible after it breaks out. So we'll keep an eye on that. So real quick, here's the chart. Here's the other one. So yeah, I mean, it's looking quite bullish. I mean, even we can see XRP's pulling back, and this looks like a reversal candle. You know, we talked about that a couple days ago, and now we're getting some follow through. So we'll see how that goes. You know, it to me, XRP just very quickly has the impression of a running flat. So we have an A, B, C, right? We have a running flat. We have a 1, maybe we get 2, and keep continuing to the upside. Now, when you look at also XRP, it kind of looks like that fractal that we just looked at. So we have this channel here, right? So we came down and we came back up, and now we're starting to build a channel. Maybe this is a lead in for a bigger move. Could be, right? And it does have that shoulder, the head, and another shoulder with this sort of, you know, reverse bull flag, I guess you can say. I don't know the technical term of it, but yeah, it's definitely possible. So, okay, going back to, I mean, even another good sign, right, is the XRP versus Bitcoin chart. It's making that fractal. It's actually coming out beautifully, and this is important for all altcoins. Like I'll get into Theta versus Bitcoin as well, but we have this pump here and this, and now we're starting to come back down. So according to the fractal, we should get something like that. So let me just show you here. Here's the fractal, where basically we have a dump, right? This was C19. We came up, we curved around. It looked like it was going to keep dumping, but it curved around and it stopped, and then it went up, and then it dumped, and then it went sideways in here and developed a base right on the bull market support band before blasting off. So I don't know. It looks kind of interesting that it's kind of lining up with like that. You know, you have this big liquidation event that took place, which also C19 was a big liquidation event. We came down, we stopped on a dime, we came back up without taking out this high, right? So we want to come down here, consolidate, and take off. So we'll see if that occurs. It's looking good so far. When I look at Theta versus Bitcoin, it's looking really good. Um, we have 1, 2. I guess you can say, you know, to me, it looks like only 3. We have 1, 2, 3, right? So then we have 1 or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and now it looks like we're getting 1, 2, 3 again. So it looks like it's creating a bigger 3-wave move. Now this bigger 3-wave move is probably going to create a base, just like we saw with XRP coming back down here, right, before breaking out. So create some type of base in here, right, where we come back up, come back down, go sideways a little bit, and then continue higher. So that's really what I would like to see for Theta. Maybe it happens quicker, maybe it takes longer, depending on, you know, what happens. The way I draw it always, you know, usually isn't the case. I'm liking this trend line here. It's pretty solid. Let's zoom out a little bit, ignore the wicks. As long as we're not going through the bodies of the candle, we're just going through the wicks, we can see maybe some type of inverse right in here. So if we can come up here and break out and backtest this, right, it could be like a 1, 2, 1, 2 to set us up for something big here, which would be nice to see. And I think Theta versus Bitcoin still has a plenty of room to go, because what I really like about it is Theta versus Bitcoin got to backtest a very key area here, right? So we have support here, here, right? And we came and we basically hashed out a pretty decent bottom down here on the daily chart. So when you zoom out a little bit, you can see we're coming down, 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 creating a nice bottom, right? And then what we see with Theta versus Bitcoin, and this is the big thing that I wanted to talk about, is a potential 1 2 1 2. So it is looking very, very solid that Theta versus Bitcoin has created a 1 2 1 2. Now I don't really like it too much because it looks like 3, but you could argue that it's 1 2 3 4 5. The fourth is a little big, but it still qualifies. So yeah, we have 1 2 3 4 5 A B C. 1 2 3 4 5 A B C. So we have a 1 2 1 2 on Theta versus Bitcoin. Here's the top. Resistance, resistance, resistance. We broke the resistance. A, B, C, back down to back test the top of the resistance to make it the new support. At the same time, we back tested the bull market support band, which is very, very, very a good thing to see. So we'll see how this continues to develop. We want to hold support here. Now, this is all contingent on Bitcoin holding above its bull market support band. It could make another low, right? It could make another low for Bitcoin, but probably not by much. I would more believe that it would, start hashing out a range of some kind. So yeah, we do have a bullish daily engulfing candle. Let's see what the smaller time frame looks like. So the smaller time frame looks a little bearish right now. I won't lie. We have on the 15-minute chart, we have 3, and then we have 5. 1 2 3 4 5. So we have an A, B, and then a C. So this is a three-way move here. So I would expect it to come down and probably back test 59 again at some point, right? So everybody's excited. Yay, we're above 60. We're above 61. I'm hearing people say we're above 61. So if we go back down to 59, I think a lot of people will, snag it up, right? I think they're like, oh man, I missed it. I wish I can go back and buy it, because we're back above 61K, it's starting to get bullish again. I got too scared. I missed buying the dip. So if we go back down to 59, those people are probably going to snag up some Bitcoin, right? They're probably going to accumulate. And then we can hold this, we developed a base right here. We come down, we can back test this base. And I'd be curious to see what Theta and everything else is doing if Bitcoin can get down here. Now, if it starts to continue to rip to the upside, hey, that's perfect. Let's go. But it's likely that we probably find some resistance here. Let's see, what's the retracement? If I take this here and I put it all the way down, look at that. We perfectly hit the 702. Well, not quite. Let me actually make it right on the dot. Or at least try. We almost hit the 702. We came within not even a tenth of a percent, basically. A tenth of a percent. So 0.1% of hitting that 702. So yeah, I would be interesting to see if we can break through it, but probably demands somewhat of a pullback. So is there anything for fun? Let's zoom in to the 3-minute chart. What structure is this making? It kind of appears, it's a little bit too early. It's too early to tell, but I mean, it could be. We have 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but I don't really like it too much. Or we can have an ABC, right? It could be creating some kind of expanded flat. I mean, it's just too early to tell. I mean, it's ridiculous to look at the 3-minute, but just for fun, kind of gives us an indication if we're going to break out A, B, 1, 2, maybe 3, or something like this. But if this is a 1, 2 and we start to break out of here, then it'll look pretty good, like kind of like an ascending triangle type of look. So, I mean, we're going to pump here. So we'll see how that plays out. Did we break the trend line? Yeah, we broke it. So there's the trend line. We broke it to the downside. So what's probably happening is by the time you watch this video, it's already going to be played out. So we're probably going to hit this upper trend line, find it some resistance, and then pull back. I would think, right? So some type of 3-wave move back down. So we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, some type of move. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me one bit to come back down and retest 59K. I can even do the same thing with the retracement here to here. I would say about right in here would be a good area to consider looking for a reversal, somewhere in there. Now, again, if we break out, that's perfect. This could be a fourth wave. Now, always know that too. And I kind of like it as a fourth wave, where we have, because this third wave looks pretty impulsive. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we get 5. Right? So maybe we come down a little bit, then we get 5. So that would be nice to see. If we can get that and end the day up here, that would be very, very nice to see. Because again, the daily candle, I would like it to close. Let me just put the line back above this line. So I'll put 2 of them there. Yeah, right about there. Let's go back to the 15-minute. Okay, so that's interesting. Yeah, we're right there. Basically in between these 2 areas. So as long as we close above this line today, I think we've done a good job for Friday. So today's goal is to close above this line. I mean, we still have, let's see, we still have, from the time of recording this video, about 4.5 hours. So, yesterday YouTube did not want to process my video, so hopefully this video will be processed quickly. The time I'm making this video is approximately 12:35 Pacific Standard Time, which would be 3:35 Eastern Standard Time. So, yeah, so we'll see how the daily candle holds up. The 4-hour candle is going to end in about 27 minutes. It's looking kind of like a little indecision resistance candle in here. Looking at XLM real quick, we're still working out this base in here. Basically, nothing's really changed. There's another base here and another one here. So we're still on our second base. We're basically down by some support. I'm still looking at it to get back up here at some point. I mean, if you look at gold had a big breakout above its inverse head and shoulders. It's almost basically to the measured move. So I wouldn't surprise me to see gold go higher, but also we can come back down and retest this breakout area. I think that would be a nice situation for gold. Ethereum, you know, I think the SEC is going to go after Ethereum, and they sent them a Wells notice and all that. And Ethereum, surprisingly, is still holding up pretty strongly. I mean, look at this. We came down in a very nice three-wave shape. We perfectly hit the bull market support. I mean, gosh, everything of these, a lot of these coins are really nailing their bull market support bands. It just goes to show how important I think it is to have this indicator alongside sequential. I haven't looked at the sequential in a while. Nothing too interesting on sequential on the 3-day. Let's see if I go to the 1-day. We almost made it to a 9 over here. It's not really helpful right now. Sequential is more helpful, not in corrections or consolidations, but more so in trends. That's why I haven't really used it so much right now. But yeah, just looking at Ethereum, it's got a nice three-wave shape. I mean, you could even argue 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're sort of got this bull flag in here. So we have a low, we nailed the bull market support band, we came up. We made actually a slightly lower low, but that was also pretty good because we grabbed that liquidity that was resting underneath here, and now we're starting to pump. So if we can hold up in here and we can hash out a base, something like this, where we start to hash out a base, I mean, that's the ideal situation that I would love to see. So when you zoom out, I mean, it's basically just a little hiccup in the road, but then we continue making gains. I mean, same thing with Pepe. It's already broke. I mean, it's nailed its bull market support band, and it hasn't even, like a lot of the coins, they pulled back to make a higher low, but Pepe is just continuing to pump, which is showing some pretty good strength in here. I mean, yeah, it did have a little bit of a pullback, but not much. I mean, most coins came all the way back down here, right? So Pepe came up here. So the good thing about it, like, who cares about Pepe? But the good thing about it is if Pepe can do that and it's breaking above its bull flag, then that's a leading indicator for other coins to do the same thing, right? Let me see. Like if I put up XRP side by side, you can see it's nowhere near how nice looking that is. So you could see Pepe, right, breaking above this high. Well, when you look at XRP's high is way up here. So it still has to. So what I'm saying is it's a good indicator that hopefully that XRP will get back up here. And then same thing with, I can even show you Theta here. Same thing, right? So Theta's high is right here. So we want to see it get back above that high, right? And then maybe flag out again and continue higher. So we could see maybe a 1, 2, 1, 2, right? But the main thing today is how nice these candles are looking right now. So it all comes down to Bitcoin on the short time frames, what the stock market is going to do next week, and things of that sort. So looking at the stock market, I haven't looked at it in a while. I mean, look at it. What did it do? It came all the way down back to the bull market support band. So that's actually pretty good, right? I mean, and now the daily chart is starting to pump here, right? It's starting to get a good reaction. Let's go to the 4-day chart. I mean, yeah, look at that. We have a 4-day engulfing candle. Let's see the weekly chart real quick. Yeah, I mean, it still looks pretty decent. So there's no reason to panic yet. I mean, yeah, we could always come back down and retest these areas, and I believe we will at some point. The question is, I just want to, for me, I just want to see a big fat alt run. If everything's going to be a disaster under this president, and we're going to have an economic collapse, and everybody's talking about it, and the dollar and everything. Okay, but at least just give us a freaking alt season before that happens. That way we can have, some skin in the game when we do have a crash, right? I mean, I would love to take some profits upon a nice alt rally. I mean, something before the big collapse. Everybody says maybe we don't get a collapse. Maybe inflation just keeps us pumping. I mean, eventually we will, but maybe it's still another 2 years away. We just really don't know. A lot of people said it was going to happen over here, right? Think about all the people, professional traders, right? Like Gareth Soloway. Oh yeah, we're going down, right? We're going down. And he compared all these fractals. I mean, not just him, but a lot of people were saying, this is it, this is it, this is it. And it never happened, right? When everybody believed that was the case, we came right back up, new all-time high. So always go against the herd. And, I've seen a lot of people say that the Bitcoin rally is toast. One of them, I like the guy. He's very, very smart, intelligent, but he got it wrong, and that's okay. Everybody gets things wrong. But to put so much emphasis on your belief, it's not healthy. Like, oh, we're gonna crash. We're gonna crash it. No, you don't understand. We're gonna crash. There's no way you could possibly know that. Just like there's no way I can possibly know that we're going to go into a retracement, what I've been saying. I said, yeah, it's likely that's what I'm looking for, but I don't know for sure, right? Like, there's a guy, Data Dash, very smart guy, very intelligent, knows a lot of things, but, every video he came out saying Bitcoin's going to dump, Bitcoin's going to dump. And when you do that, you're basically setting yourself up to fail, because if it doesn't do what you're saying it's for sure going to do, you're not going to look so smart, right? So, I mean, it's not about looking smart, but at the end of the day, there's no way you can possibly know what the market is going to do. I don't know what the market is doing. I'm just based off what I'm seeing, right? It seems like the market wants to continue into its retracement, at least for the altcoins, right? Because what I've been saying, right, just go back to Theta. I mean, basically down here, I've been saying, hey, look, there's a good chance that we're going into a retracement. That's what we're looking for. We have Wyckoff, we have a base, we have a completed 5-way move, we have divergence between the 4th and the 5th, we have another Wyckoff base, and in this area, a lot of people were saying, no, we're going down, and I just couldn't see it. I couldn't wrap my head around it. And that's when I came out and I decided, you know what, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring. I'm going to start doing videos. So basically my story has been, we got to get up here. We got to get up here in the retracement area. And so far, we're almost there. Now, what happens here, that's the very, very tough thing that I have no idea. I mean, we could break out if Bitcoin continues. Yeah, we have a good chance. But this can go into reaccumulation before breaking out, right? So we don't really know. But, just to go back to what I was saying, a lot of people down here, like when Bitcoin was right in here and right in here, I mean, they were, every video, day after day after day after day, we're going down, we're going down, we're going down, we're going down. There's no liquidity in the market. Right? The Fed, they're raising interest rates, right? They stopped the money printer. So that means, no, that has nothing to do with it. Yes, it has something to do with it. But if everybody believes that's the case, then it's always the opposite of the narrative, right? Especially with, people saying the Fed raising interest rates. Yeah, that's, and they're tightening, and the money printer isn't going burr, right? It's off. Basically, they're tightening. So there's no way Bitcoin can go up. That's not true. Just because they turn the money printer off doesn't mean that there's not existing currency out there. There's a lot of cash on the sidelines, right? So when you're in a bear market, if there's not new money being printed, how can you go up? Well, then that would just, by that logic, with the Bitcoin, a lot of the Bitcoin maxis would say, by that logic, then there's no point in Bitcoin. Because if Bitcoin's sole dependency is dependent on the money printer, then there's no point in it, right? It doesn't make any sense. Basically, if the dollar stops, basically Bitcoin is supposed to protect yourself in those type of events, right? So if the dollar is getting stronger, yes, you could see Bitcoin taking a dump. But it doesn't mean that, nothing goes down in a straight line, right? When we went down, that was a pretty big straight line. So we came up and everybody thought we're going to continue. But look, we came up in 5 waves. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And we had an ABC. So why would we go down? We had 5. It didn't make sense. So, when I hear videos like that, Bitcoin's going down, and then what did it do? It exploded and it broke above the all-time high, and it completely just stunned them. Like, whoa, like I can't believe. So basically they missed out. They could have been accumulating. So now what? Now they're hoping and praying that Bitcoin comes back down. It could totally come back down. And it could be a 1, 2, 1, 2. But if it doesn't, then they missed their opportunity to really stack up. Right? I mean, to me, there's still a lot of opportunities out there. I mean, just look at Theta TFUEL. I think it's in a very nice area. We have a base here. We're back testing the base. I think it's in a very nice area for outer space. The bigger the base, the higher in space. So we'll see how that plays out. But that's why I'll never come on here and I'll tell you, yes, for sure it's going to go up, or for sure it's going to go down. I have no idea what it's going to do. I've been correct so far, but that doesn't mean I can't be wrong in the future. It's okay to be wrong, but the analysts who post their charts and they get it wrong over and over and over and over again, it makes the TA, basically, people don't believe in TA anymore because all these people believe they're TA experts. They bring out these charts and they're always wrong. So then people perceive it as TA always being wrong. So no matter, so that's kind of the thing and that's another reason why I decided to do it, to just show it's not about being right or wrong. It's about understanding the risk and knowing the probabilities. We all want to make money. We all want our portfolios to grow. The best thing to do is to dollar cost average and to just simply hodl. Right? I would say most crypto investors, most of them are on the younger side. I would say less than 50 years old. So that means they have plenty of time to accumulate, and they have plenty of time to put things aside for retirement, right? Because I look at crypto as retirement, right? To me, it's not a get-rich-quick thing. It's more of build sustainable longevity, right? A wealth. And that doesn't happen overnight. So if crypto explodes, then you don't really get the opportunity to accumulate unless you've been in it for many years. So just my 2 cents. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. And I'm going to do a rapid fire video. So drop some coins down in the comment section. Let me know what you guys want me to take a look at. So, I mean, are we going to hit 5 trillion by the end of the year? I mean, maybe. It's possible. If that Ripple lawsuit ends rather quickly, we could see a pretty nice alt season coming. And again, it goes for the opposite too. If everybody believes we're going to break out and we have to go because Bitcoin broke above the all-time high and we had the halving, so that means we have to go up because that's what happened the last 2 times. But that's not the case, right? Just like how they say, well, the Fed raised rates, so when they do that, that means the price has to come down. Well, it doesn't always have to do that. If the majority believe it, then the majority will position themselves according to that. So if you have too many positions on one side of the trade, then it usually gets liquidated and it goes to the other part of the trade. So if everybody goes longs the market's going to dump, right? So it's kind of interesting how that works. But anyways, guys, I will catch you guys on the next one. By the way, hit like, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you think. And I will catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.